Good afternoon and welcome to Groves Academy Information Session for Admissions, December 2021. My name is Kim Ani. I'm the Transitions Advocate here at Groves Academy. I've been here for 13 years and I work with families as they're considering moving on to a different school, if their path leads them to stay at Groves, or whatever that might be. So that is my role at the school currently. And then what I'd like to do is introduce our panelists today. We have some parents and students with us, as well as some of our staff members. We do have a few staff members that may be joining a few minutes after we get started, so I might stop and have them introduce themselves as well. To start off, I'd like to introduce our staff. Let's start with Erica.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Erica Sutton. I'm the Director of Admissions. And I work with families as they first begin the admissions process and also all the way through to the end. We're very thankful that you're joining us today.
Thank you so much, Erica. And Abby?
Hi, I'm Abby Kirschbaum. I'm the admissions coordinator, and in my role, I help guide families through the application process and through the student visit days.
Thank you so much, Abby. Let's turn it over to our parents now. We'll start with Liz.
Hi, my name is Liz. I am a parent of a second-year Groves student, and he is currently in 8th grade.
Okay, thank you, Liz. Liz, you were cutting out on my side a bit. We did catch that you have an 8th grader here, and you are a parent. So we're going to introduce your 8th grader right now. Caden?
Hello, I'm Caden. I'm in 8th grade, and this is my second year at Grove.
Thank you so much, Caden. And Amy.
Hi, I'm Amy Newton. We have 2 boys at Groves, Sawyer, who you'll meet shortly. He is in 9th grade, so he's a freshman. He's been there 5 years. And Beckett just joined Groves this year, and he's in 8th grade.
Thank you very much. And then how about we have Sawyer introduce himself?
You sort of said it for me, but I'll say it again. So I'm Sawyer. I'm in 9th grade. I've been here for 5 years, and I'm in upper school.
Thank you, Sawyer. And just joining us here is a parent. Christy, can you introduce yourself and who your child is and how many years they've been at Groves?
Sure. So Christy Badger, and my daughter is Emery Badger, who has been here. She's now in 6th grade, and we came over in 4th grade for her.
Okay, very good. So back to our guests that are here today. This is a Q&A session. As much as it is us telling you who we are, we'd like to know what you would like to know. To ask questions today, what you'll want to do if you're new to Zoom is float your mouse to the bottom of your screen. There is a Q&A bubble. If you click on it, you're able to type in your questions, and then I will answer them as we move through our session today. I will direct questions to our parents, our staff, or students, whoever seems to be the most appropriate person to direct a question to. With that, I'm going to get started. I have one question to start us out, and this is for our parents and our students. So when I say your name, go ahead and answer the question. We'll start with Christy. Why is Groves different from other schools, Christy, in your experience with M?
Sure. So I'd say the biggest thing is that there's so many, but the biggest thing is, so we lived in the world of IEPs and trying to figure out what we might need to do to help. We have IEPs, numerous tutors, many assessments happening here and there, trying to figure out what we need to do. And honestly, lots of tears on all parties involved, and really trying to understand why is it taking an hour and a half to go through a homework every night? And so, and then inclusive of the weekends. So the biggest thing for Groves, again, many things, is that it really was working at Emory's need level and very individualized plans put in place, not just accommodations that come into play from the IEP perspective. So we did a variety. We moved a couple of different schools, trying to find the right fits. We had a phenomenal team with her public school. It wasn't enough, candidly. And we felt like if we had the opportunity to give her and set her up for the most success possible, that we would. And so it's really, I would say, the individualized plans, meeting her where she needs to be, but the constant of needing to push her. So to make sure that she is getting challenged and getting up to where it needs to be, but while building the self-advocacy literacy, right, and the confidence that comes to play. That's all key components of Groves in the curriculum. So huge.
Thank you so much, Christy. I'd like to ask another parent that question too, and then we'll move to our students, of course. Let's go to Liz. Why is Groves different from other schools?
I would say that the biggest thing to me or takeaway is that you don't have to ask for what your student needs. It's given, and they actually reach out to you and say, and one instance, like, I think, your student, you mean, I don't have to cry, I don't have to yell, I don't have to get upset, I don't have to beg for what he should just be given for education. So to me, that was the biggest thing, is that you don't have to ask for it. It's given, and it's given exponentially more than what you think is possible. And it's what he deserves to have for an education. I think that it focuses so much on the strengths and how those strengths just create them as an individual, that it is makes such a difference in self-esteem and in confidence also.
Thank you so much, Liz. Liz, you are cutting out quite a bit, so maybe pull down your video and see if that doesn't help your audio a little bit for the next question. We'll see if we can't improve that a little. I'd like to move to Amy. So the question was, Amy, why is Groves different from other schools?
Gosh, I agree with Christy so much, but I think, the difference for a child, we'll be interested to hear what the children say, but I think as a parent, I've said this so many times, but the biggest difference is no longer really needing to advocate or be the expert about my child and their specific needs and challenges. That was a huge thing. I think I felt like I needed to be an expert on all the different learning challenges and the different ways that those challenges are served, and to not have to do that anymore was an amazing gift, frankly. And it brings me to tears, because I'm not qualified. I'm not qualified to do that, and I never was. So it was a time and, like, for our family, an amazing gift. But I think overall, what I appreciate the most about Groves is that they know every child very specifically. And I don't have to check in all the time. I rarely hear from the school because everything is always, I know that everything is going just fine. And that's a huge thing, right? That's a huge change. That's a huge change.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that, Amy. And as Amy said, we'll hear from the students. I think we'll go to Sawyer next. So Sawyer, the question was, why is Groves different from other schools?
Thank you. So for me, Groves is different because it meets you on your level. It knows exactly how your brain works, and it can cater so that you are intaking the information and, well, keeping it without it just drifting out one ear. Also, it challenges you just enough so you feel achievement when you beat a task, but not so much that you feel like you can't complete it.
Wow. Thank you so much, Sawyer. That was very succinct. And Caden, anything to add? Why is Groves different from other schools?
It's basically the same that Sawyer said, but in addition to that, they meet you where you're at, and you can't really hide like you can in big public schools. You're connected with the class and with the teachers, and if you don't understand something, you can ask the teacher, or sometimes they notice.
Wow, thank you so much, Caden. Next question, I'm going to start with Christy. Talk about, this is for the parents, what is parent communication like? So Christy, your perspective as a lower school student's parent.
So excuse me, it's a little different per teacher, I'll say, and it literally is set up with a partnership that you put in place. So if you're someone who likes lots of communication, then you state that up front and you do one-liners and you send little notes in the homework of like, hey, she flew through this and should we challenge up? Or hey, we stumbled on this one for a while, because like, again, you're not as a parent allowed to correct, you can guide, but otherwise how's the teacher going to know like how the kiddo's doing, right? So I would say a big thing there was being able to set the structures up with each of the teachers. Again, some more communicative than others, that's just human style. But you could have emails, of course, they send every week of summaries where things are going on. If there are some frustrating moments where they're running into some themes for something, they'll raise a hand and say, hey, guys, maybe she's not getting enough sleep at school or something going on, or like, hey, she is rocking this, you should know this. So it's a really nice open forum that goes back and forth, and it truly is out of a partnership. And then I'd also say there's a couple of things where I might not be calling it the right term, but there's like little blue sheets. They're like the star of the week that build up. So there's all these things of like, so, Emery was very courageous and stood up for a classmate, or she was very tenacious on a project, or we get those often. A variety of different things though, but the communication is there so that you're not having to guess. And if you do need to know, like you're like, I actually haven't heard anything for a bit, you can reach out and find out like, how are things going? Is no news good news? Is there something different I should be doing at home? And that goes also, she also goes to the speech therapist there. And so we have the same relationship with our speech therapist, and she's been seeing the same one for 3 years. So it's been great. She's been able to see that. We've built the rapport as well as Emery has. And then the communications and needs and things we can bring home to do with her too.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much, Christy. So that's the lower school perspective on communication, and I really appreciate you sharing that. Liz, let's see how your audio is doing. Any thoughts on communication and what that's been like for middle school?
Yeah, first, can you hear me better now? Okay, perfect. As far as communication, again, I also agree. It depends on the teachers as far as how much or how little. But one thing I would have to say is that every single person is super receptive to you reaching out and extremely fast and getting back to you. So if there's ever a question, I never feel like I'm asking too many questions or the wrong question. I'm always, I feel like all communication is great. There's always that weekly email that kind of captures everything as far as school-wide, and I really appreciate that. But then you also get emails from advisors or from teachers if they feel they need to reach out in regards to things. So communication is fantastic. And so also in that same vein as Christy, like if you're somebody that wants a lot, you can have a lot of communication. If you're someone that doesn't, then it's not pushed upon you or forced upon you. So communication is great at Groves.
Thanks, Liz. And Amy, your perspective, you talked a bit about your communication style with the school, but you've been through the middle school and you currently have a middle schooler. How has that changed for upper school in your experience so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the changes that occurs is the students are encouraged to advocate for themselves. So a lot of the communication then comes from the student directly to the teacher or to administration if there are any challenges. So sometimes we're not brought into it because we're not needed. And in terms of executive functioning and life skills, I think a lot of that is worked out amongst themselves. But I think it's important to note, and Liz said this, as did Christy, but that we're given a weekly email that gives us sort of a state of affairs of the whole school and learning opportunities and generally things that are going on. And I think, the level of communication that you want is what you'll get. I'm more of a no news is good news. But I also think it's important to note that really anytime you do get an email with any sort of challenge, there are always solutions. It's not put upon you that, oh, here is this challenge, what are you going to do type of thing. It's always a solution. This is how we're going to work through it. And always really positive. And I think those emails are pretty rare on the whole. So hopefully that helps.
Absolutely. Thank you, Amy, for sharing your perspective. I have a question for Abby. What is our current enrollment?
Yeah, so currently at school, we have 277 students, and that's about average of where we are. 280, 290 is what we see.
Thank you very much. Another question along the lines of enrollment. When students attend Groves, do they typically graduate from Groves, or do they stick around for a couple of years? I'm going to start this question, and then I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Peoples, head of school, after that. As transitions advocate, I did mention that I work with families on transitioning when their child is ready and or when parents feel it's time to do that. So it varies from student to student, and every kid's path is different. This year we have a class of, I believe it's 27 graduating from our high school. I'm looking at Sawyer here. I'm pretty sure Sawyer is going to be staying through high school, and if I put a bet on it, I think his brother is as well. So it varies from family to family and student to student. So that's my side of it. Ms. Peoples, do you want to talk a little bit about the graduation and how many kids stay and what that looks like?
Well, first, before I get to answering that question, excuse my tardiness, and thank you so much for joining us for this admission session. In terms of transitioning or looking at us as a destination, we're happy to say that as a private school, as an independent school, we're both. We're a place of transition as well as destination. If you decide to stay with us through graduation, we're definitely a destination for you, and we prepare you for those next steps. There are two things that we want you to walk away taking with you as a Groves Academy graduate. We want you to leave us with self-advocacy, and I'm sure this word has been mentioned to you. If it hasn't, I'm introducing it to you right now. Self-advocacy is that ability to advocate for yourself. You know what you need, you know why you need it, and you're not afraid to say what it is, why it's necessary, and you have the voice and the confidence to say it. So if you need an accommodation, if you need a particular a skill, or you need a particular service because it's going to help you to take those next steps and leverage equity in your walk and what you need to do in your future, you're not afraid to say, this is what I need. We want all of our students to be equipped with this. And we also want you to walk away with agency, and that's being self-empowered to create the future of your own design. And so we want our students to have these two skills. And certainly if you're staying with us through lower school, middle school, and upper school, then that gives you a greater likelihood and opportunity to leverage both of those skills to their maximum effort. And so we would absolutely and look forward to Sawyer leveraging those skills to their fullest capacity. I get the privilege of seeing Sawyer every day as he comes into the space that I'm occupying right now, teaching a couple of classes in the upper school. And I'm seeing him come into that space and with a book in hand and using that opportunity for downtime to get centered and directed for whatever, experiences that await him when that transition time is over. And he's leveraging his self-advocacy, knowing this is the time I need to kind of leverage my own space and do what I need to do. And he is also using his agency to know that this is the kind of thing that I need to do for the future that I want to create. So, hey, we're creating those opportunities for students like Sawyer to know what he needs to create the next space and the next journey for him. And, we look forward to creating those opportunities for all of our students.
Thank you, Ms. Peoples. Quick question for Erica before I move to a community question. Erica, can you talk a little bit about the acceptance rate, how many students apply each year on average, and how many are accepted in a typical year?
Sure. So our acceptance rate is about 85%. I encourage parents to reach out and talk with us prior to applying. We actually encourage, that's actually something that we require, because we absolutely want to make sure that you're going through the process knowing what we can do and who we serve. And so that's why 85% is our acceptance rate. We take great care in looking at each individual child's learning profile to make sure that it's not whether they're a fit for Groves, it's whether we are a fit for them, whether we can provide them the tools and what they need to be successful. As far as applications, like I said, we currently are at 280-ish students. That's usually where we're at right now. We will process upwards of about 350 applications probably, but they won't all be completed. There's a little variance in that. But, definitely right now we are projected to have spaces next year in all divisions. And so I absolutely encourage people to get in touch with us and apply if they're interested.
Thank you very much, Anne. Our next question is about community building, and I'm going to turn to Christy first to speak on behalf of M. Talk a little bit, Christy. We draw from many different areas of the Twin Cities, different school districts. So students are moving through from year to year. But what does community building look like in the lower school? And then I'm going to ask our students that next. Christy?
Totally. And I will say, so I'll talk pre-COVID candidly, and then what we've done since then. And I was also speak for the families as well. So Groves did a phenomenal job as new families. They have a variety of social hours, gathering people together, picnics pre to school beginning so that the kiddos can see each other, meet each other, parents can meet each other. You immediately have bonding with people that you otherwise might never speak to. That you could pass by, but you immediately have a moment and you all are telling your story and you're all crying. Your story is all very similar, which is overwhelming to know that you're not alone. There's this community that you didn't even know that you needed, right, is coming into play. And so there's perpetual moments, which you'll see they come out in newsletters in the community. So it's just kind of like getting to know each other, conversations, and being able to meet with Miss Peoples early on and talk through what things look like. It's very it's what you make of it. So there's many opportunities for you to connect with everybody. And then for the kiddos, there's lots of things within the classes they get to do together. And then after school programs, that's kind of more pre-COVID, but coming back here a little bit. And then now in this world, I say there's much more virtual opportunities and things like that. And I'll say for Emery, our kiddo, she's been able to have build their relationships with friends. And then so that just naturally starts to build own communities and people getting together from class to class, because there is instant bonding happening and minimal judging happening because everybody's in this together. So that is just, it's irreplaceable. So there's more of it pre-COVID, but there's still a lot of it still happening now. And that they start to create their own too, which is huge.
Thank you so much, Christy. So students, I can repeat the question, but it's really students are coming from all over the cities and different districts, and students do move through our school. Share your experience on community building. And I'm going to start with Caden, if that's okay. Caden?
So in your classes, you basically will make connections with everyone, some better than others. And you see them in the hallways, you say hi, and then you become friends. You might enjoy activities at break for middle school. You get to go out on the playground and whatever activities you want. Good time. That's a good time to make friends. And then there is some after school activities like basketball, which is happening now, and track, where you get to meet new people and make connections.
Thank you, Caden. And Sawyer, would you like to add to that, please?
Yeah, like Caden was saying with classes, you really get to know everybody because there's smaller class sizes. So you're almost forced to get to know the people around you. And I myself am not the most social person, but because of those smaller classes, I have made a ton of friends here. And, there's time during recess and lunch and stuff like that to find your people and talk with them.
Thank you, Sawyer, so much. I have a question for Ms. Peoples. It's about executive functioning. Can you share how we are teaching executive functioning skills, how those are taught across divisions?
Absolutely. Every division has its own way of teaching executive functioning skills very overtly, as well as incorporating them within their lessons. There is time dedicated specifically in the lower school every Friday to very explicit lessons in executive functioning, as well as in the middle school. It is interspersed and interwoven in each lesson as a part of their design in middle school, as well as in lower school. Specific in upper school, 9th through 12th graders experience an executive function course where they walk through not only learning the specific EF processes from time management to goal-directed persistence through learning about all of the different stages that you go through, from planning a project to all the way through its execution. They're also learning about different important life skills, and those courses are thematically based from a 9th grade year, learning about how to do school, through their senior year, learning about leaving your legacy. So we understand the importance of executive functioning, not only through your secondary, your primary experience, but also how do you transfer these skills post your elementary, middle school, and high school experience. And quite frankly, these are skills that you can certainly use beyond those experiences as well. And I can safely say that quite a few of the adults in my life, myself included, could use some of these skills as well.
Thank you, Ms. Peoples. A couple of questions about how we create class sizes for lower school, specifically 3rd through 5th graders. Erica, would you like to answer that question, please?
Sure. So in our lower school, class size is typically 8 students per class. So we have that low teacher-student ratio. And classes are really methodically created to make sure that we're putting your student into a learning cohort of students that are at their level and same need. With that being said, we do have multi-age classrooms, meaning we'll have like a 2nd, 3rd room or a 3rd, 4th room. And again, that gives us some flexibility to really put the students with that grouping of kids at their level, so that the instruction can really be tailored to them and help them succeed. Again, we're always meeting students where they're at. So we have that in lower school, that class of 8 students, as well as we have direct instruction every day in Wilson Reading, where we split that class of 8 students into 2 groups of 4. So they get further kind of small group individualized instruction. So really the process of creating classes is really methodical, really thought out, and keeping those numbers low so students are really getting that direct teacher interaction instruction time.
Okay, thank you so much. Next question, I'm going to turn to for the students, because I'd like to hear about students. Oh, but what I want to do first, I'm going to have Amy talk a little bit about how we meet students where they're at, because that's coming through in a couple of these questions. Amy, you want to share your experience with that, please?
Sure, I'm happy to. Thanks for asking. I think one of the really enlightening things that I found as a parent was that in a lot of ways in lower and middle school, they don't really have grades. A student, of course, comes in because most kids are coming from a traditional environment where they are a 3rd grader or a 4th grader, but they really are sort of mixed classrooms. And it feels to me, hopefully I'm expanding on what Erica said, is that they are more grouped in math and reading, in writing, based on their skill level, with an educator or a teacher that is teaching at the level of those students. So maybe they're at a typical 3rd grade level and they're a 5th grader. It doesn't matter that even the students don't really group themselves that way. So I think it's that kids throughout the day are grouped together based on where they are at in their learning journey in that specific topic. Does that make sense, Erica and Kim?
Absolutely, it does. Anything to add, Ms. Peoples, or?
That's totally it. And a lot of time is taken over the summer and then throughout the course of the school year to make sure that students are correctly placed. And if we find that during the course of the school year, if students need to be changed to another group, If the students are progressing a little bit further than we thought, then certainly we will adjust accordingly. So it's an ongoing process. So if you start in one group at the beginning of the year, doesn't mean that you're landlocked to that particular group. We're always looking for opportunities to adjust accordingly because we want to make sure that students are in the right place at the right time to be challenged and to be accommodated accordingly.
And we actually have a student, I'm going to have Caden talk a bit about this because his experience directly relates to this question about meeting students where they're at. Caden, talk about what we do for math for you as a middle school student now and what that looks like.
Yes, so I'm a middle school student and currently I'm taking geometry in upper school, which is more fitted to my level. So it's more challenging than if I was to take traditional 8th grade math. And same with last year, I was taking pre-algebra and teachers felt that it was not the best fit for me. So it wasn't challenging enough. So they moved me up to algebra. And now this year I'm taking geometry.
Thank you, Caden, for sharing that. So it's a very tactile and direct experience that you're having. We recognize Caden's gifts in math, and then we're able to meet that need. Liz, how was that communicated to you as a parent when it was decided Caden would be advanced in math?
Yeah, so they had reached out and we had talked to his current math teacher. She just expressed that it wasn't challenging Caden enough and we needed to do more for him. The connection was made then with us and the teacher that he would be moving into for that class. So we didn't feel abandoned or like what's happening. So we were looped in on that. So it was existing teacher and then who we would be moving to. And that conversation then happened between our family and both teachers. So it was just a seamless transition. And we all understood why it was happening and that it was a good thing for him just to be challenged more in that area where he needed the challenge.
Thank you so much, Liz. A question for our students about the social side. So it's worded with the question is framed as what if you're a social butterfly? And if you don't know what that is, that's okay. But really, I would like to hear from Sawyer and Caden. Sawyer, you shared a little bit of this already about how you connect, how you make friends, what that feels like for you as a student here. Do you want to start, Sawyer? Would you be ready to do that?
I'm willing to, sure. So, like I said earlier, smaller class sizes. So you're working with the same kids, which means you're getting to know them better and know what they're good at. And for me, I look for people with similar interests to me and some differing perspectives. And because of those projects, you're working with people, you get to know what they like I said. So you're finding people with similar interests. And I have gotten, because of this, I sort of have at least a face and a name assigned to most of the people in my grade, and then 6 or 7 really good friends that I know very well.
Thank you, Sawyer. And Caden, you're involved in some extracurricular activities at Groves, I think that has helped really expand who you interact with and what you do. You want to talk a bit about TRAP and any of your social parts of your day here at middle school and what that looks like.
Yes, so as was stated, I participated in TRAP and it was really nice, interesting. I got to meet a lot of upper schoolers because that's the main people in the TRAP team. And I talked to them, and there was also some middle schoolers that I connected more with. And now when I see them in the hallway, I say, hi, how you doing? And then share if we've been doing anything TRAP related and or have any plans over the weekends and stuff.
Thank you very much. And Abby, I'm going to have a question about social opportunities expanded to you. How is it that Caden and Sawyer are here on our panel right now?
You know, Kim, I was just thinking about that. So I run our student ambassador program. where our students meet, our middle schoolers meet one day during lunch, once a week, and our upper schoolers meet one day at lunch during the week. And we have been practicing kind of public speaking skills and creating connections with other people. So the goal is that they're going to be really ready to go when visitors come to our school and start visiting and able to have conversations with them. And then also being able to speak on our panel today. So a lot of, that club that meets once a week is the students building connections with each other and learning how to have informal conversations with new people. So that they can do that when we have new students visiting as well as in their lives. So,
thank you, Ms. Kirschbaum. I appreciate that. Ms. Peoples, there's a question about how we measure success and progress of each student. Would you be able to answer that for us?
Sure. In the lower school, we measure progress for students specifically in reading by weekly monitoring. We use Ames Web, where weekly our students are monitored on their reading progress. So we also have a similar monitoring of progress in reading that happens in our middle school. In the middle school and upper school, certainly with some traditional and not so traditional measurements are also used to monitor our student progress, certainly as students are progressing through skills and different strategies that they're learning in their various content area classes. Not so traditional ways of measuring progress in terms of thinking about projects and thinking about presentations, whether they are through slides or through oral presentations that our students are asked to give, or in some instances, our students feel comfortable in meeting with teachers one-on-one, and instead of writing traditional responses to a particular assignment, there are ways that students are able just to have conversations to demonstrate what they know. So there are different ways that we get at accessing student understanding to make sure that students are progressing the way that we want our students to demonstrate their understanding.
Thanks, Ms. Peoples, very much. I wanted to provide some clarity. There's a question about our enrollment numbers, and a parent put a question up. Those are last year's numbers that were placed up there. We reduced enrollment last school year to allow us to provide better social distancing in our school. Currently, we are at 280 students. That is our plan for next year as well. So this school year, 280, next school year, that's what we're looking at. It was the year prior to last school year where we had a reduced admission number and enrollment numbers. So I wanted to put some clarity around that. I wanted to ask questions now a little bit about kind of the day-to-day things that go on here at school and things that you utilize in the classroom. And one of them is technology. I'm going to start with students and then maybe have a parent perspective on our approach to the use of technology and what that looks like. I'm going to start with Sawyer, and then we'll check in with Caden. Sawyer, talk a bit about the technology you use and in your experience as an upper schooler, how that is utilized in class.
So as students, we have our own computer that we take home with us and bring to school. That can be used to do homework virtually if you're not as good a writer and you prefer to type. There's different programs to help you read on here as well, and virtual books that can read to you if you're not the best reader. There are probably other programs that I'm forgetting, but just the basics, researching stuff. I'm sorry, I don't have anything more right this second. Drawing a blank.
That's very good. Yeah. Caden, why don't you add on? And then if I remember, I think Ms. Peoples can rattle off an entire list at the end. So let's go to Caden to talk about your experience in the middle school and upper school, since you are in an upper school math class, with electronics, how we connect with technology.
So as Sawyer stated, every middle school and upper school student gets their own computer to take home, and you do their homework if they have any, and if they prefer to type, they can type on it or write. And each student gets their own learning ally. I know at least for middle school. I'm not sure for any others, but and we use Cami, which allows us to annotate on documents. So we could highlight over something or just type on it. We use it a lot for our textbooks that we use.
Thank you very much. Anything to add, Ms. Peoples? Because then I'm going to turn to our parents. We have a good question about homework.
Oh, sure. I would just add that we use Google Drive and all of the platforms in Google Drive. We use also use Google Classroom, where students are able to keep up with all of their homework assignments through Google Drive and turn in their work through Google Drive or Google Classroom. Teachers utilize a number of additional platforms, Nearpod, Thrively, and other technology platforms that also supplement some of the work that our students are using in addition to their textbooks, in addition to, they're also featured on their laptops that supplement some of their classroom experiences as well.
Thank you, Ms. Peoples. I'm going to turn to Amy and then to Liz. Two questions there. So one, talk a bit about homework, because I know that's a very common question for students as they're coming in. And then your view as a parent about our use of technology. Amy, you want to start us with that?
Sure, I love answering this question because it's such a delightful change for a lot of parents and kiddos that are coming from a more traditional environment. I think it's a huge change, and I hope I speak correctly to this, but one of the major things that changed for us is, you know, that the time that we used to spend sitting down, going through homework with our kids and making sure that it all got done, sort of that the end goal always being like, make sure you meet the deadline, get it in on time. That is really different. It grows in that the idea is, and again, somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, but that homework really is about showing that you're at a certain skill level. So almost a mastery of content. So if kids come home and they're struggling with their homework, it is not on the parent to then help them or do the homework or walk them through the homework. Because if we do that, we're actually not helping the teachers or the school, because we are then sending work back with the student, indicating that the student understands the content. And it's better for the student to go back and say, actually, I still have questions on this and I'm not quite understanding it, so that the educator has provided that information and can go over it again. That was a huge thing for us. And again, the goal not being, oh, finish the homework, finish the homework, finish the homework. Rather, the educator says, okay, wait, why isn't it done? Because that's what we need to understand is what is confusing about it and how can we help you understand it better? So, you know, we don't help our kids with homework anymore, because if we did, we would be sort of cheating the system and cheating the school and the teachers of information. And in fact, you know, not giving our kids the best opportunities.
Thank
And
you,
I
Amy.
just have to sneak in there just
ahead.
Yeah.
before you answer that. That's exactly it. It's an extension of the skills. It's an extension of the lessons that happen in class. That's exactly how we view homework. And if you don't give us an opportunity to have the students demonstrate that understanding, then we miss that opportunity to then redirect, to reteach, to help our students, you know, to really grasp the concept that somehow perhaps we missed in the instruction in class. And so Amy is exactly right. If there's something missing, then send us an email. Hey, we need to perhaps review this in class. Let's try it again. Or could you go over this information one more time? There's something missing or there was a disconnect. That's the kind of communication that we want to know, so that we can go back and have that one-on-one dialogue in the classroom the next day. Absolutely right.
Thank you, Ms. Peoples and Amy, very much for all of that. And is anything to add about homework? And then I want to turn to that, your perspective as a parent on electronics and how we use technology, if you have one.
Yeah, no, I agree with all of that as far as the homework goes. I guess one thing I could add that I saw from being in a mainstream public school, large public school for 6th grade, and then making our transition to Groves to 7th grade, homework was a horrible thing in 6th grade. And then what I saw change, and the biggest thing that I took away, is Caden's own pride in like, I don't want your help. And I was so like conditioned to like, I have to sit down, I have to do this. And then we come to Groves, and he took so much pride in being able to do his homework on his own, to watch him be able to self-advocate for himself if he didn't understand how to do something. I still will try and interfere, and he's like, no, I already sent an email to the teacher and I'm on top of it. And so to me, that's been like so beneficial, and I'm happy to see that change in him also. And like, there's nothing wrong if I don't understand it. It's not me. It's just that I don't have this information yet, and I need to work on getting that. So it's been a night and day difference in homework in school. As far as the technology, I appreciate it, right? As a student with dyslexia, they need to be able to rely on technology. So being able to learn how to use those different programs and different ways to assist them, which is only going to help them throughout their entire life. So the technology piece, I feel, has been great also.
Thank you so much, Liz. For attendees right now, if anyone has any extra or additional questions, please drop them into the Q&A right now. I hope we've been able to answer the questions you have asked, and want to just say thank you so much for being here today. Do know that we are here to answer your questions, and your folks that do that for you primarily would be Ms. Kirschbaum and Ms. Sutton, Erica and Abby in admissions. Reach out to us if you need clarity on anything that we talked about today, or anything else you think of 2 hours from now. Contact us and let us know. We are here to support, we are here to answer and to guide and direct. I would really like to thank Amy and Liz so much for being here. Terrific parents, of course, but also honest and very clear about their experiences. And then, of course, Sawyer and Caden. It has been a joy to have you here today and to listen to you talk about your experiences as students, and looking forward to doing this again with you at other times this school year. So thank you so much. Anything else to add, staff? Ms. Peoples, Abby, Erica? Well,
I would just say one thing that I'd love to leave all of you with is that, we're not fixers at Groves. We don't fix things, but we do empower, and we do support, and we do believe. We believe that your students have the ability to do great things in their future. We believe that we're here to empower them to have the future of their own design. We believe that they are sitting on wonderful abilities and capacities, and we believe that they are equipped to do whatever they wish to do, and we're here to help them to do it. And we thank you so much for using this time with us today to learn more about who we are. And we look forward to having you go through the process to learn more about who we are. And we hope that at the end of this process, if we're the right place for you, if we're able to serve you, to serve your students, we look forward to getting in relationship with you. And thank you so much for being with us today.
thank you so much. Oh, one question came in. Oh, it was a thank you all. Okay, well, that's an easy question to answer. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your questions. Have a lovely day out there. It's an amazing winter in Minnesota so far, so get out and enjoy it. Thanks for attending today. Take care, everyone.
Sawyer and Kate, thank you so much for being here. You guys were fabulous.